Greetings to all of humanity. It's really a joy, it's a pleasure, it's always my honor to be greeting you. I always bring this message of emancipation to you, pointing you to look inwardly to discover that your real identity is your divinity. That's the reason why I want to speak to you concerning the Imaginal act that changed Neville Goddard's life. But just before I go any deeper, I just want to remind you concerning our Abdullah Neville Goddard merch, and if you're a supporter of this channel and you would like to support this merch, there's a link down below for you also, and I just want to give thanks in advance for all of your support. Now, as I would have said before concerning the Imaginal act that changed Neville Goddard's life, this act was done by Abdullah, who was Neville Goddard's mentor, because Abdullah was teaching Neville Goddard for over 5 years, but Neville had to have experience for himself, and that was what Abdullah wanted for Neville. So this Imaginal act that Abdullah did on behalf of Neville, one thing I want to point out to you is that it was done out of love. And the love energy is the most powerful energy there is. Yet there's only one energy, and as we know, this energy can use to keep people in fear, or it can use with love towards everyone in this world. And that is why this world can be a better place if we all would think positively towards each other, and we would teach each other how to overcome the system or the matrix that have been put in place to keep them in the ego self, to keep them trapped in limitation and keep them trapped in the rat race. So Abdullah wanted to get Neville out of the rat race mentality, because at that time it was 1933 and it was the time of the Great Depression also. There was an economic downturn. And so with Neville having no work and having no money, yet he had this burning desire to travel to Barbados. And it would take money to travel to Barbados. And he was having this burning desire, having left Barbados over 12 years ago at the age of 17. And so there's no one to turn to except turning to Abdullah to tell Abdullah about this burning desire. But Neville didn't know that it was Abdullah who would have put him in that state, teaching us that we are all connected, that we are all one, and that there's only one universal consciousness, that there is no aristocracy. So actually, my brother and my sisters, the real president of your life is you. The real prime minister of your life is you. The real king and queen of your life is you. So that's why you have to overcome all of this hierarchy system that been put in place for you to believe a lie. None is greater than the other. For the rich man, the poor man, the beggar man, the thief is only one mind, but just different arrangement of the same mind. So as I was saying before, because Abdullah would have known the law in such a way, and Abdullah knew what was true love, he was able to put Neville in that place of affluence. But just before I go any further, also because of the power of love in the heart of Abdullah, Abdullah was not moved by the things that was written on many of the areas that he wanted to visit, that says that no Negro was allowed, because Abdullah didn't see himself as that. Abdullah see himself as God in flesh. And that is how each and every one of us is supposed to see ourselves, as God in flesh, and that no one has any power over you. So Abdullah was not enslaved in his mind. He didn't have any slave mentality, and that is why we have to free ourselves from all mental slavery. And Neville had to free himself also from mental slavery, because Neville grew up in the Caribbean and he was taught to believe a certain way, and he was educated a certain way, which is the way that we've been educated down here in the Caribbean also, and it is part of teaching the people to have this colonial mentality. That is why many people look to England, America, Canada, and so on as land of opportunity. But the land of opportunity is between our two ears. That's why we all must look inwardly and realize that it is our own thoughts that is creating our reality, and that we can create our reality consciously. So we have the power to live in poverty, and we have the power to live in prosperity. But you have to choose whether you want to live in poverty or you want to live in prosperity. So here we see Abdullah was teaching Neville the key, but Abdullah first used an imaginal act that he knows that once this act would have taken place in the life of Neville, and Neville have the experience for himself that it would change his life forever. And so Abdullah used his imagination, knowing that imagination is God in man, on behalf of Neville Goddard, to show us that we can use our imagination on the behalf of another for good, not to hurt them, not in a destructive way, but in an uplifting way. That is why we have to use our creativity, use our ability to be of benefit to humanity. But my brother, my sisters, when you look around and you see how the system has been set up, you see there are many who are using this same power in a dark way, in a way to control others. But here we see Abdullah taught Neville that all he had to do was to sleep in his imagination in his mother's home in Barbados, and it would become a reality. While Neville was residing in New York, he was supposed to perform this imaginal act. And while he walked the streets of New York, he was to imagine himself walking the streets of Barbados. And so when Neville got the money without going to a job, and he found the letter under his door sent by his brother, and he didn't ask his brother, he didn't request for help from his brother, showing you that we are, as I said before, that we are all connected, showing you that once you use your imagination, others must work on your behalf, because we are all connected and there's only one universal consciousness. So actually there's no division, there's no race. Race is not even real. Sometimes I might mention certain things to just get a message across. Okay? So we see here that this imaginal act, as I would have said before, it put Neville in a place of affluence. The same thing is shown to you in Acts chapter 3 and many areas of the Bible, when you learn that the Bible adjusts the human mind and must be interpreted psychologically, that it is not literal, neither is it secular history, and that it have no reference to anyone who existed thousands of years ago, to any actual event that would have taken place on earth thousands of years ago. When you understand that the Bible is a great psychological gem and it adjusts the human psyche, then you will understand how you must be in charge of your mind and have the right mentality towards yourself and humanity. So here, as I was saying before, it's in the Bible in Acts 3, where they put this man in a place of affluence. But it is teaching you of you discovering your John and your Peter, which is love, and the hearing of the truth and applying faith. And that's what Abdullah did. Because Neville was ill. He was crippled financially. He couldn't stand on 2 feet. And Abdullah did this imaginal act and put him to stand on 2 feet financially. Then he was walking and leaping. and praising God. Who God was he praising? His imagination. Because he come to discover that the creator in man is man's imagination. He come to realize that God and man are one, and it changed his life. This is why, my brother and my sisters, I always say to you to put your imagination to work. For the Bible says you must not just be a hearer, but to be a doer. Because if you're just a hearer and not a doer, you're deceiving yourself. You are like a man who beholding his image in the mirror and go and forget what manner of man that he is. And remember, your imagination is where you form your images. That's why Neville had to form the image of his mother's home and the bedrooms and so on, and see himself lying in his bedroom, in his mother's home. And form the image of Barbados within his mind. That is why we can be all things if we believe in our imagination, and we can do all things. All things are possible to them that believe in their higher self, their God self, their true self. And this act was what changed Neville's life. So my brother and my sister, when people say that actions speak louder than words, it is truth. You have to put things to work. Action is very important. You can only display your faith by your works. By your works, I will know your faith. And that is why you can never check the divine law of reproduction, that every seed and every species must reproduce after its own kind. But religious people believe that they can check the laws of the universe. So they believe they can plant pumpkin and they could reap watermelon, because they're saying one thing, and when we look at their life, they're not producing what they're speaking about. The Bible promises that we shall be the head and not the tail. They are the tail. The Bible promises that we shall be the lenders and not the borrowers. The religious minds are basically the borrowers of the world. And if you think of anything that is great in this world, it wasn't invented by a religious person. It wasn't invented by someone who believed in secular Christianity. Everyone works for money. Money wasn't invented by someone who was a devoted Christian who believed in secular Christianity. The computer was not invented by a Christian, neither the internet or any of these great things in the world. So the world needs thinkers, the world needs doers, the world needs creators, people who are deliberate creators, who understand that God and man are one, and who understand to do the work or the will of God is to learn to create your reality consciously and to be responsible for your thoughts and your actions, knowing that every action is the expression of a thought. For as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So we are to control our mind and control our destiny, because a change of mind is a change of destiny, and you are the Lord and Master of your destiny, because no one can have a thought for you. That is why Neville was the one who was receiving the burning desire. It wasn't Abdullah having a thought for him. Abdullah didn't act on his behalf. And so, my brother and my sisters, let us not use this energy to condemn or shame or to bring any judgment on anyone like the religious people normally do. But let us use it in love. That is why I would like to say to anyone who would have ever asked of me to use my imagination on their behalf, that they must believe. And you must understand that when you come to this message of self-realization, that you will understand what is true love. Because you will realize that God is in everyone. And that God created the good and God created the evil also. And that is in Isaiah chapter 45, verses 5 and 7. You can read it for yourself. It's also in Deuteronomy 32 and 39. He said, I kill and I make alive, I wound and I heal. He said, I am God and there is no other. I am. I am is the name of God from generation to generation. And that is why we are one. And that's how Abdullah could have used this imaginal act to put Neville Goddard in a place of affluence. use your mind power to help others. Your brothers, your sisters, your friends, your relatives who are trapped in secular Christianity, use your mind power to help them to wake up. See them, hear them saying that they have now understood what you've been trying to teach them all along, and they would have seen the changes in your life, whether is it financially, socially, emotionally, in every way. They must see these changes in your life, and then they would understand why it is said that let your light so shine before men that they may behold your good works and glorify the Father which is your imagination, the Creator within each and every one. So my brother and my sisters, this is time for us to do an imaginal act on the behalf of someone that would change their life, just as Abdullah did this imaginal act that changed Neville Goddard's life. So with that being said, my brother and my sisters, I just want to give thanks and praise to each and everyone who would have listened to this message and would have benefited from this message. And I'm saying to you, if this is the very first time that you're listening to me and this message is resonating with you, I would like to say to you, if you haven't subscribed already, to subscribe, to like, to comment, to share this video. But just before I leave you, I just want to remind you that this message I bring to you, that it is a single eye message of self-realization, of which Matthew chapter 6 and verses 22 says that if your eye be single, your whole body will be full of light. And it is because my whole body was filled with light, and that single eye awakes within me, and I change from mortal to immortality, where I'm able to bring this message to you, saying to you that when it takes place in you, you will come to realize that God and man are one, and that it is the rising of the S-U-N in a S-O-N. For the sun, as in the S-U-N, parallels the human imagination, and the human imagination parallels the sun. For without the sun, there is no life, and there is no light. And without the human imagination, there isn't anything made that was made. And you're told in Psalms 84:11 that the Lord thy God is a sun and a shield, and a good thing which he withhold from you. And truly the sun has never withheld any good thing from humanity, for the sun is what powers all of humanity, and gave all of humanity its energy. So really and truly the Bible is a sun book, the S-U-N. And also you're told in you're told in Malachi chapter 4 and verses 2 that the Son of Righteousness shall arise in you with healing in his wings. And truly when the Son has risen in me, I'm bringing healing to all of humanity. That's why my encouragement to you is to use your mind power, which is your solar power, your sun power, your God power, your creative power, which is actually the sexual power. Use that power to achieve your every desire. So with that being said, I want to say peace, love you all, I'm out.